Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Everything You Need to Stay Connected in the Cloud. My name is Liz, and I will be your moderator. With me today, I have Adrian Phillips and Zach Ewan. Adrian is our Senior Manager of Product Marketing. He ensures that products are being built and updated to meet your needs. And Zach is one of our incredible customer success managers. He works with customers like you every day to ensure your account is being optimized. Welcome, Adrian and Zach.
Hey, Liz.
Hello. Highlighting how you can stay connected from the cloud using tools and workflows at your fingertips today. And we'll be covering some new features that can help you integrate even more of your daily activities with Citrix. During today's webinar, we would really like to hear from you and would like to include your voice in the conversation today. So please ask questions, share your comments, and you can do so in the question and answer panel at any time during the webinar. With everyone shortly after the conclusion of the webinar. And with that, Adrian, let's get started.
All right. And hearing about today, you'll be surprised to learn is already enabled on your account. And so there's going to be some really exciting things that you're going to hear about. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about are going to be additional costs, or they're add-ons to your existing feature, but to your existing account. But one of the things that we hear again and again while I'm out talking with customers is that I just had no idea ShareFile even did this, whatever it is that we feature that we might be talking about. And so I just want to take a few minutes here on the front end of this webinar before we sort of dive into learn that ShareFile is something that you already think or you didn't realize that it did. So why do we do what we do? ShareFile is really about enabling you to work the way that you want. And so if we could sort of build this slide, Zach, you can see some of the benefits of that you're going to get greater flexibility. You're going to get more efficiency, better organization, and you're going to get anywhere access. And I know from talking, growing at a rate, we've surpassed 65,000 business customers and now have more than 20 million users. 99% of the Fortune 500 companies are represented in our user base, and openness and flexibility are the key drivers management and configuration for better to collaborate. And finally, flexible and secure access from your nearest internet-enabled device. So let's dig in real quick and just make sure that we're all on the same page here. So let's start with data storage. So with ShareFile, your employees store and access files from any location. If you could build this to the next slide, Zach, you'll see all the different ways that we offer this data storage. We're the first in the industry to offer choice where your data is stored, whether that's going to be on-premise in your office. It provides more reliability and security for your business data. Disruptive, and so therefore we provide connectors to your existing data repository. This is one of my favorite features of ShareFile because this gives you a single pane of glass to get to all your content into an EMC Documentum, network share, Microsoft, Dropbox, and Google. And so in order to ensure that you have secure access,
I wonder if the Wi-Fi right here, that's why.
Yeah. We also have files that you can access on your.
So this is like a direct wire connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going. All right, so let's talk a little bit about management. So then The next way that we do this is we offer this robust management. I'm not going to spend as much time on this one because a lot of you are aware of this one. But if you're an administrator in particular, you know all the different ways that you can add users and add clients. This is where you're going to set up some of your success. You're going to set your solution apart because it's going to look like it'll move past this one, and let's get into workflow and collaboration. And this is really bread and butter, where we really get excited and where ShareFile gets set up. Files, the most simplest and powerful ways we do this is through our secure link. So I'm sure many of you are used to this, where instead of attaching something, we had a webinar on it recently, and we're going to learn a little bit more about today, is our e-signature feature. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We also have embedded encrypted email, which many of you may not realize. If you're on a business, so there's a lot of really, really powerful features that are signature, or you aren't sending this to your existing customers. I highly recommend you do that because this is the simplest and most efficient way and secure way for you to be able to get large files from your existing customers and partners that you're integrating with. And finally, all of this is supported on any device, including virtual desktops. And that's one of the great things that you have by working with Citrix. Of course, we have this fantastic virtual and hosted solution. And so we are unique in that we are optimized for each one of these different environments, including the Outlook plugin, remote desktop, and access, which you're going to learn a little bit more about. And our Drive Master feature, which uniquely is the only one in the industry that works within that virtual desktop environment and can even allow you to get to some of those other cloud storage providers. So that might have been a little bit redundant for some of you, and this might be information that you knew, but I'm hoping there might have been some new information there that really that you'll be surprised to find out that you already have with your existing account. And so with that, let's jump in a little bit further into the content we have for you today. In particular, let's look at tools and apps. So ShareFile has, one of the things I love about ShareFile, in addition to what we talked about earlier, and I touched on it a little bit, are all the different tools and applications. And so what we mean by that is that we have different ways for you to get your files into ShareFile, and we have all sorts of ways for you to get your files out of ShareFile. And so our data has shown that once a customer realizes that they have these features, their use goes up tremendously because they realize how significant of a time saver each one of these features are. We don't just build these to build these. Each one of these has a purpose to try to give you back some time and to give you a little bit more peace of mind in the way that you're working day to day. And so the Microsoft Outlook plugin is the first one that we're going to talk about. Zach, I feel like I've been kind of talking a lot here. You want to talk a little, jump in here and give us an overview?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up my Outlook real quick and bring it over to this screen. There was a problem with the PowerPoint for some reason, so if you guys saw like a blank screen for like 10 seconds, sorry about that. But let me go ahead here and just, after the Outlook plugin has been installed successfully in your computer, you will pretty much have this on your setup. And the major purpose of the Outlook plugin, as you'll see here real quick, is that it does show this little ShareFile logo with plugin options. And we do have, for example, a bunch of settings that you can do in regards to editing, how secure you want the encryption to be. More common examples would be whether you force your people to sign in to actually look at an encrypted message, and or if you just want them to type in their name and email before they can look at the message itself. We do have it set up, as you can see, so that notifications are turned on automatically when your individual recipient has read the encrypted email and when they've actually either uploaded the file you sent to them or vice versa. And I guess the last major thing to point out with the encrypted email settings you'll notice is that you can have the email expiring after a certain amount of time, whether it's a couple days, whether it's weeks, or whether it's a month, or even just never, whatever works best for you guys.
That's great. So that's a great snapshot. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Oh, no, the only thing I was going to add real quick was when you do a brand new email, just to point out with the Sharefile plugin being installed successfully, it does have the Sharefile icons over here on the right-hand side, and it has the encryption off or encryption on the upper left-hand side.
Super. All right, so our goal today, everybody, is just to kind of quickly show you some things that you may not have realized that we already had and you already have access to. The next one is this print to share file feature. Can you show me that one, Zach?
Absolutely. So print to share file, and I also point this out in regards to where do I get the Outlook plugin app and where do I get the print to share file app. When you're logged into your Sharefile account successfully, it's pretty much under the Apps tab at the top right-hand side next to Logout. So the Outlook plugin was the very first thing that we always have as a download. Print to share file is just towards the bottom right here. And when you do download print to share file successfully, I could ideally go ahead and pull a file from what we refer to as a file explorer for those people that have Windows. And ideally, I'm just going to go ahead real quick and pull up a PDF. I'll bring it over to your screen, that way you guys can all see this, and girls. And I'm going to pretend like I'm going to go ahead and print out this specific document. So I will click on the little printer icon on my computer. Print to share file is my default printer. This will be in alphabetical order with your other printers that are listed. So if you want to go ahead and change that, that's fine. And then ideally, when I go ahead and print this out, or pretend like I'm going to print this out, a share file icon is going to pop up at the very bottom of my screen. And from there, first time you're ever using this, you might have to log in with your credentials. But afterwards, it's going to be linked automatically. And then you can just pretty much go ahead and proceed to either rename this file, or you could go ahead and move it into a specific folder. And then on top of that, you have more actions such as emailing encrypted if you don't want to use the Outlook plugin for some reason.
So this is a great feature. People might be asking, what would I do with this? Because you can install this print driver on your computer, it's going to show up in any application that you currently use today that supports printing. So that could be tax preparation software. It could be, you know, some type of customer database, etc. So you've got now the ability to, in one step, create this PDF and quickly send it out, either for your own storage or to be able to collaborate with somebody else on the document, either to be able to download the file or to be able to sign the document. So now you have Sharefile integrated into just about any application you're currently using. All right, the next feature we want to talk about is our sync. Can you help me understand? Sync is one of those words. Some people totally get it. Others, what does sync even mean? Can you quickly explain what sync means, Zach?
Yes, I guess the best way to explain it would just be the ability to have like a dedicated folder into your computer. And I'll show you an example like in 10 seconds here, but the idea is whatever files and or folders you've created through like your Sharefile login, Sync will pretty much have a copy of those as well in like the cloud space. And when I go back to my File Explorer, I'm going to drag it back over to you guys real quick. You will notice as my list of options on the left-hand side, there is a Sharefile folder. And this is ideally from the result of downloading the Sync app. And then from there, it just has other things that I haven't synchronized recently, to be honest with you, but it does have everything that I've used in relation to my account within the past few weeks.
So the advantage of this Sync tool, this works on PCs, this works, or Windows, I should say, also works on Macs. And so this provides a backup copy of the file in the Citrix Secure Cloud. So all of the files that are locally on your system are also backed up with Sharefile, including different versions of them. So you could always go back and revert to a previous version. And this feature is fantastic, not only because it allows you to get to your files on any device or your nearest device, but also makes sure that you haven't lost a file. So if you lose a computer or you have some type of an issue, like a few weeks ago, my computer gave me some trouble, and I had no worries whatsoever because I knew all of my files were backed up in Sharefile. I just got a new computer, or actually they re-imaged it. I reconnect Sharefile, all those files re-downloaded, and they stayed in sync between Sharefile and what I had on my system. One of the best features. Love it. All right, so now let's quickly jump into the desktop app. You quickly touched on it earlier. Can you show us what that looks like, Zach?
Sure. Yeah, I'm actually clicking it on right now, but just to harp again back on your apps page under your Sharefile account, underneath the Outlook plugin, the Sync app is the second one listed. The desktop app is the third one listed. And when I was in training, when I first started working for this company, I was told this is jokingly like the Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi of ShareFile. I'm actually trying to get this over to my screen, and that way I can show you guys what it looks like. But pretty much the small screenshot over here is going to be a similar thing. Now, to my understanding, you cannot do anything in regards to the admin side of things, but you can still go ahead and move files and folders around. I'm actually just uploading this right now as soon as my system decides to cooperate. But it does have spaces here. Now, another ShareFile icon just popped up at the bottom, which is signifying that my desktop app is getting, I guess, activated. And this is ideally what the desktop app looks like in full screen mode. So again, it has my files and folders. This is definitely a bit more updated, as you can see, based on the dates. But what's nice is I can pretty much go through and just do certain things with the specific files. For example, I can go ahead and just download it on my personal computer, or I could just go ahead and rename it or whatever I prefer without having to log into an internet browser over and over again.
Yeah, so another advantage to this, it might be hard to tell what's happening here, but think of this almost like a secure browser, because everything that you're seeing through the desktop app is in the cloud. So in other words, these are not necessarily your local files. You could have zero footprint on your local system and be able to access all of these files. This is really helpful in particularly in healthcare, where maybe you don't want to have any of this personally identifiable information or health information hit the local computer at all. And so now you have essentially a cloud browser or cloud-enabled browser to all of your ShareFile files, and then from in here you can initiate workflows. All right, and then the last one we were going to look at were mobile apps. I'm not sure quite how to demo this on our webinar, but why don't you walk us through a little bit about how we can get to ShareFile on all these different devices?
Yes, so the one thing you'll notice, and I will go back to this real quick, when you click on the Apps tab initially, Windows will be the default sub-tab, but there is a mobile one. And whether or not you have an Android phone or an iPhone or the tablet versions, you can download the ShareFile app for each one of these. And then pretty much when you click on one of them, I guess the best way to go would just be to go into the Google Play for Android or the market for Apple. Just download the apps. These apps are very similar to the desktop app in terms of functionality. Just obviously I don't have an iPhone or an Android phone connected to this meeting, but it will have the same purpose or the same processes and transactions that you could do with the desktop app as well.
That's awesome. All right, so some great tips there that we got to learn about with the tools and apps. Those are just included in your account. So we strongly encourage you to adopt those and start getting a little bit more use out of the product. All right, so next we want to shift gears to one of our newer workflow features, and this is our feedback and approval. Now, I don't know anybody who hasn't had the headache of trying to collaborate on a document with or it could be an image, it could be a Word document, PowerPoint, etc. But you're trying to get feedback, and so it might be a contract, it might be a statement of work. And you send this over to somebody and you get either no feedback whatsoever, right? It goes into the abyss. And so you keep sending these emails, hey, did you ever get that, that document I sent over? Would love your feedback. And so it's a pain to have to keep up with all of that. The second is maybe you do get some feedback, but it's just so vague. You have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe they reference, it might be a 10-page document and they make some sort of obscure reference or something that they want changed or what, and you just have no idea, what they're talking about. And then you also have multiple people, who are providing feedback. And so now all of a sudden you have all these email threads, and it's assuming people are even responding, and you somehow have to aggregate together all of this feedback and somehow figure out, so is this document approved or is it not approved? It's a very frustrating experience for every one of us. And so ShareFile has this new feature called feedback and approvals, and I just think it's fantastic. It kind of really signals for ShareFile moving more into kind of this real-time collaboration and being able to, like we talked about at the beginning of the webinar, each document or each file sort of has a job to do, And so in this case, the job might be, to get this feedback and approval before it goes off and sort of solidifies something for your business. So Zach, do you mind walking us through a little bit about how this feature works?
Absolutely. So I am going to go, I actually unintentionally did the feedback and approval on a separate ShareFile account, but it has the same screens here. So this is your dashboard, your home screen. Feedback and approval will be on the left-hand side right there. And if you're on your computer, you pretty much just go ahead and click on it. It will open up a new tab automatically. And then from there, it will go ahead and allow you to, in essence, upload a file. This screen you're looking at right now, this is actually something that I just completed recently where it's a feedback I did with a fake person. This will always list your feedbacks that you've done as long as you've had an account with ShareFile pretty much. It also, as you can point out, or as you can see, it does state the ones that either you were the initiator or someone that actually shared their workflow with you. And then pretty much all you would have to do is just click on New Workflow. You'll probably be doing this anyways for your very first time. And then you can go ahead and follow this process. Now, this is actually a 9-step process, so I don't want to be too boring and go through every single little detail. But ideally, you do have an option to kind of like a choose your own adventure kind of thing where you can either have a document get approved by somebody else internally or maybe externally, or you can actually just maybe provide a document to a certain amount of people and just say, hey, let me know what I need to fix or need to correct. So I normally do collect feedback, and then all the extra steps pop up, as you can see. Now, in regards to what kind of a file that you do upload into your computer or into the feedback or approval, it actually can be anything Microsoft related, so PowerPoint files, Excel sheets, PDFs, Words, picture files, that should be fine. CAD files for those of you that might be working with 3D. And from there, you just go ahead and type in how many people's names and emails you want to go ahead and have included in this workflow. And you can also have CCs who have no, they can't really like mention, oh yeah, that you can do this and do that, but they can at least be notified of the entire process. And then ideally, when you go ahead and follow this process and you start your workflow, when it is completed, I'll just pretty much give you an idea back to the feedback and approval tab. On my one approval, it does show that this process has been ended or has been completed. Rick Grimes, main character in Walking Dead, for example, he submitted his feedback and we're all good to go. What I'd like to do in the interest of time is let me just show you screenshots of what it looks like when someone's actually making a correction and when someone is also actually finished up. So I had to pull this from my email, so sorry if this is a little on the small side. But this screenshot right here is just pretty much this little blue portion here. This is actually an annotation. If you notice, Rick Grimes told me to change the wording of this particular sentence in my paragraph portion. And then when I get the notification telling me to go ahead and change this or let me know what Rick wants to have done, I can go ahead here now. And if you notice on this screenshot, which I'll big screen real quick, it does show that I agreed with what Rick annotated, and I'm going to go ahead and resolve that. And it also lets me know the exact hour, minute, and second when Rick has submitted that feedback to me. And then from there, if I know that this is all good to go, I would just go ahead and click on End Feedback. And then I would actually have a workflow folder built into my personal folder space in ShareFile. Oh, I clicked on that accidentally. Sorry about that, guys. So it would create itself under the personal folder section, which is this workflow folder right here. And the workflow folder, say that 5 times fast, that would include the most recent document that has been submitted for feedback and approved.
All right, so this kind of reminds me of like those cooking shows, where you sort of see all the recipes, all the ingredients, out on the table, and then, now you pull the pie out, and hey, look, it's all done. So yeah, that's a fantastic feature that we're getting a lot of really good feedback on. For all the reasons that I mentioned, is it's happening in real time. So you're commenting together. You can see when somebody's online, and it's also fantastic when you've got that final approval. And that's one of the things that is pretty challenging. It's like, so is it approved or is it not? You're going to have that document that says approved based on whoever that approval is. So we encourage you to look at that feature that's currently included in business level accounts. All right, so the next feature is not going to be included, but is unique in the industry in that we offer it integrated. In other words, from within ShareFile, you can request an e-signature. So you don't have to go out and get another e-signature provider. That's usually pretty expensive. We have it for a much better value built right into ShareFile. And this came about through an acquisition that we had of Right Signature several years ago. And we have been tirelessly working to bring that functionality into ShareFile because, again, we talked about how each file has a job to do. So that job might be to get a signature. And so our signatures are legally binding signatures. You can get these signatures, typically cuts down that sort of what's called the wet signature, right? So that in-person manual signature process by 90%. So if you're in sales or you have clients and you need to get a contract signed, you can now do that 90% faster by using e-signature. In fact, one of my favorite stories was one of our CPA tax prep customers tweeted one time about he was able to take a vacation with the amount of time that he was able to save just by using e-signature during tax season on the 8879. So I love this feature, and I love that the way that it is integrated so tightly into ShareFile. Zach, I know we did a whole kind of webinar on this a couple weeks ago, but can you give us a real quick taste of how this integrated e-signature works?
Absolutely, and I will go ahead and actually do an 8879 as an example, since we are still getting a lot of newer clients who are tax people. So I am going to go ahead and go back to my ShareFile home screen. You notice the ShareFile dashboard you'll be using quite often. And right off the bat, for those of you who, again, if you have Right Signature as part of your account, you would go ahead and click on the ShareFile icon on the right-hand side here, and e-signature will pop up. Now, for those of you that don't have Right Signature, because it is separate, if you try to click on that, it will probably either just be faded out so you can't click on it, or you can't, or it will prompt you don't have access to do it. So what I'll do here is just go ahead and click on e-signature, and it's going to open up a new tab in my browser automatically. It is going to be a different website, as you can see, because this is what's connected to our e-signature software, I guess we can say. And then right off the bat, I need to go ahead and pull a file from my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up an 8879 that I'm pretty sure I still have as a blank copy. Now, for my example, without getting into too much detail, we'll just assume that your tax software, whoever you, ladies and gentlemen, use, will have everything already pre-filled except for the signature field and the date field. So I'm going to go ahead now and just click on Prepare. I will go ahead and type in the person's name that we are going to send it to. And since we're using TV show characters, I'm actually going to go with, let's go with, I think her name's Carrie Matheson. It's a show called Homeland, for those of you who don't recognize the character's name. And we'll go ahead and send this to my Yahoo account, just as an example. Now, if you notice, there's if you need to have this signed by the taxpayer and the spouse, maybe this is a two-person document, you could just go ahead and click on Add Another Signer, type in the spouse's name. And if they insist that it goes to the same email address, that's actually perfectly fine. What will happen is there will just be two separate emails addressed to Carrie and her spouse. That's all. But I'll keep this simple. I'll just do one person, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. And then from there, again, let's just assume that this was already filled out by the tax software that I'm using. So all I need to do is just go ahead and create a signature field and a date field under the taxpayer's portion. So on the upper right-hand side, we do have a couple basic options here. Obviously, for those of you who forget everything I just say, there's a tutorial that you can just click on, and it'll give you like a slideshow or like a screenshot demonstration of what to do. But pretty much all we'll do here is just click on the signature field. It creates this little plus sign on your screen, and then you have to left-click to just create this rectangle space. And then with your mouse, these little circles in each corner, you can just go ahead and move it with your mouse to make it larger. You do have to click on one of these little circles first, though. But as you can see, I'll make it a little bit larger, and I'll go ahead and do a date field. And let's just say that's all we really need, because again, my tax software fills out everything else for the most part. And I'll just go ahead and click on Next. And this is just me confirming everything. So if I wanted to, I could change the expiration for how many days. Rather than give the person 30 days, I need this done ASAP. So let's just say we'll give them, let's just say 2 days. If I wanted to put a passcode on this, pretty much asking the client to maybe like, for example, I need to know, type in the last 4 of your social before you can even look at the document, you could do that. The question that you do type in here does have to be an answer that the client should know. So I would hope that they would know their answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. And then from there, if you wanted to add an extra message, you could, but that's not required. And then all you would have to do is just click on Send Document, and then it goes out successfully. I'll go ahead and do this, just so you guys can see what the screen looks like real quick. And it goes to this yahoo.com account. If it is an incorrect email, or if the email address does not exist because you might have typed in the incorrect person's name or the incorrect email address, you will get a bounce back email saying that it could not be delivered. And if that does happen, then you'd have to just void and start over again by clicking on the e-signature icon on ShareFile. And other than that, that's pretty much it without getting into too much detail.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So we just kind of flew across the feature here. There is so much more that Right Signature has to offer. Particularly around simply and quickly building documents and templates to be able to kind of scale this out so you don't have to manually build it out like Zach just showed you. Sort of once you've done it once, you could sort of templatize that and then apply it over and over and over again. So really cool, powerful feature that also, again, legally binding. This is a legit feature. This just isn't something, lightweight that we sort of throw in there. This is a full-on e-signature solution that is baked right into ShareFile. All right, so the last thing that's also a differentiator for ShareFile is our remote access, secure remote access functionality. And man, I'll tell you what, I try to keep each one of my files in ShareFile, and I do a really good job of that. But occasionally, I might have left a file back at my on my PC, or maybe I saved it to my desktop, or I had a working file and I wasn't quite done with it. So this allows me to get to that file, but the other thing that this does that's super powerful is it allows me to actually get to the desktop and the application itself. And so, in fact, to be honest, this weekend I was working on a presentation, and I was having some issues because I was on Mac, and the particular version of PowerPoint I had didn't support the feature I needed, but I knew it was supported on PC, and so because I have this feature, I thought, I'm just going to remote into my computer at work, which is a Windows PC. I used ShareFile to sync. The file was already synced to my work Windows computer. I just remoted in, went full screen, and so I was working on my Mac, but I was actually controlling my Windows PC at the office. And then I was able to do all the things on my PowerPoint that I needed to do. So that's kind of a funny use case, but it just shows that once you have this, we talked about it in the very, very beginning. ShareFile is here to enable you to be able to work the way you want to. And so that's exactly what happened. My file was synced to ShareFile, and I was able to securely access that desktop remotely and be able to not, have to say, shoot, I'll just have to do that when I get into the office. Now, that's my own personal issues that I was working on a PowerPoint on the weekend. Don't hold it against me. But it does show the powerful flexibility that comes with that. So I'm excited for you to see how this works because, again, this is very unique to ShareFile. Can we see that now, Zach?
Sure, absolutely. I'm actually going to pretend like I haven't logged into my account today yet. So I'm going to drag this over to your screen one more time, ladies and gentlemen. And this is, you pretty much just go to shareconnect.com. And then right off the bat, I'm just going to go ahead and sign in at the top right-hand side. This screen will pop up. You will be logging in with the same credentials as your ShareFile. And actually, just this morning, I got a different laptop computer, a personal computer, and I connected to my ShareConnect this morning to make sure that everything was going to work okay before this particular webinar. And ideally, when I do log into ShareConnect, let me just go into my specific account because I have a couple different accounts working for this company.
One or two.
Ideally, I'm going to get this screen here, and I purposely, so I wouldn't be confused by the gibberish names, I purposely labeled at the end which one is my work computer, which is what we're looking at right now, or what I'm connected to, and which computer is at home, which is actually a laptop that's to the right of where my desk is. And ideally, on the left-hand side, without getting into too much detail, in order for this to work, you do have to download the desktop app on your computer and whatever other computers you decide that you need to add in the future. You pretty much just follow the instructions that you do when you download the app successfully, and then from there you should be good. Now, what I'm going to do, I purposely have Sharefile.com on my home computer. I'm going to go ahead and click on the home computer link here. It's connecting. And then from there, what's nice about this is that if my computer was physically at my personal location, I could go ahead and grab stuff if I forgot it while I'm at work. This screen does pop up. This is requiring you to type in the password that you use to actually turn on your computer. This is not a Citrix-related password or anything like that. This is your actual personal computer password. So I'm going to go ahead and type this in. And then I'm going to
one of the nice things while this is loading is Zach is bypassing any VPN access at this point. So he doesn't have to worry about getting in that. And the other nice thing about this too is that if you access internet as well, so if you have a different sort of intranet inside the office that's inside a particular firewall, this is a great way for you to get to those, to get to your internet from external.
Yep, and right now this is actually what my personal computer would look like if I was at my home. So I purposely have Sharefile and ShareConnect's websites listed, but I could go ahead and add a new website. I could just go ahead and do this. If there are particular files I needed from this computer, again, I could just go ahead and actually click on the little Windows thing here, and I can go ahead and actually upload a specific file straight into my work computer, even though my home computer and theoretically would be like a 20-minute drive from where I live. So I could just go ahead and sift through the different files, or File Explorer even, and go ahead and actually have this stuff transferred into my work computer without having to drive back home 20 minutes and do this separately.
Yeah, so you can see you got your ShareFile network drive down there. So now you have access. This also works really, really well from mobile devices, in particular your iPad or a tablet. And so you can, using this, just take your tablet and you can move files into your ShareFile account, and now you have access to them from anywhere. So you now have secure access to your files and folders, whether they are located in ShareFile, whether they are on your PC or your server back at the office, or even if they are hosted in a third-party cloud storage solution. So that you have, through one provider, you have access to all of your files securely.
Mm-hmm. And then the only other thing I'll point out too, the only other thing I'll point out too is if I'm actually, in essence, going into my personal computer, but maybe somebody is actually at my place on my computer, their screen as a default will black out. So if you wanted to play a prank on them without telling them, you could always just access the home computer and they have no idea what just happened. So.
Yeah, one of the reasons that this is helpful is if you want to be able to, if you have clients that are remote, it's not just about getting to your files, but we have some that will say, like let's say they offer some type of bookkeeping or some other service, and they're saying, I'm stuck, can you help me? Typically that would require driving in or sending that QuickBooks desktop file through ShareFile, which is obviously much simpler, but you also now can just jump right in and be able to provide remote services and additional value to your clients. So, all right, so that's the end of this. I'm going to pass it back to Liz. Liz, take it away.
Thanks, Adrian and Zach, and thanks for walking us through all of that. I hope everybody found something new or maybe something familiar that they can use with ShareFile really starting as early as this afternoon. So I've been watching your questions as they come through, and we've had a couple of questions come in. Before we start answering those, if anyone else has a remaining question, please head to that questions box in your panel now and feel free to type that in. We've got about 5 more minutes here, and we're going to try to get through as many of these as possible. If we don't get to your question today, don't worry. We will follow up via email after today's webinar. All right, so first question today. This is probably a question for Zach. You've shown us a lot of different features, some of which are in ShareFile, some are with e-signature, and some are with remote access. If I want to give remote access or e-signature capabilities maybe only to a couple of my employees, let's say I've got 50 employees but only 5 of them need e-signature access, can I separate permissions in that way?
Yes, absolutely. So at least in regards to e-signature, there is a separate website, and I'll bring everything over to the screen that you guys and girls can check out. And if you want to jot this down or type it in yourself on your own computer while you're doing this, the website that we tell people to go to is this particular website here, secure.writesignature.com. And ideally, this is WriteSignature's home page. Now, I'm already logged into ShareFile and ShareConnect or my Citrix account, so this already automatically popped me in here. If I would have been logging into this for the first time, just to show you real quick, there is a separate sign-in screen. And of course, it's not going to show because we're doing a live session. But ideally, it's going to be pretty much the same login screen that you saw with ShareConnect and you saw with ShareFile. It's just going to be a blue background instead. So you're going to go ahead and log in with your credentials one more time, the same thing as your ShareFile. And if you want to specifically add those 5 people out of 50 to Write Signature, then you'd actually have to add them into Write Signature separately. So all you would have to do is when you log into this and you get like the hello, welcome to Write Signature screen, you skip all the screenshots, I guess we can say. You would specifically have to click on the Account tab at the top here, and then you would have to click on the Users sub-tab, which is right here. And then from there, you just go ahead and click on Add User. You type in your colleague's email address, first and last name, and then Add. And then that's it from your side of things. And then that person will receive an email to go ahead and activate the Write Signature account by clicking on a link. And then when he or she does that, they'll be added to your list of 5 people, for example.
Got it. So it sounds like not everyone has to have the same permissions or the same tools. I can really pick and choose based on their role in the business.
Right, yeah. Yeah, anything with e-signature permissions has to be done separately for the Write Signature website as opposed to ShareFile. So.
So this next question is for Adrian or Zach, either one really. And this is kind of the exciting part. You showed a lot of great tools for us at the very beginning for ShareFile. Some you showed the Outlook plugin for Microsoft Outlook. You also showed some of the sync and desktop app tools. We got a couple of questions about, hey, I've been a ShareFile user for a while. Is there anything coming down the road for Mac users or people that use Gmail?
That is a good question. Yeah, so we do have a really good Mac sync tool that you'll find on that same page, the app download page, and that tool will work the same way as it does on the Windows. And so that tool is going to do the same thing. In fact, one of the other features we didn't even talk about, that once this is enabled, it will also allow you to right-click on any of your files that are being synced up to ShareFile and create a share link. That's one of my favorite features I use all the time. With regards to Gmail, we are looking, that is one of those email platforms that is still growing in popularity, and so that is something that I would say we are actively looking at now, yes.
It sounds like good news to come later in the year. Okay. And let's see here. So I guess the last common question that's coming in here, folks, and if you've got any others, we've got 1 more minute here, so feel free to enter those. Of everything that you've shown us today, if I don't see this available in my account today, who should I contact to learn more? And I can take that one if that's tough for you guys.
Yeah, Zach, you can jump in on this, or Liz, you can, but I'd say there's 2 things. One is if you have an administrator, that administrator might be turned off your access to some of those files, and so you want to make sure that the administrator isn't limiting those. The second reason might be your account isn't provisioned for it or isn't qualified based on the tier of the plan that you might be on. And so I'll hand it back to you, Liz.
Yeah, I agree with Adrian
exactly
as well.
Right. Yep, so if you see something in your account today that, or in our demo today that you're interested in and you do not have it available today, in short, first contact your ShareFile administrator, check with them, make sure it's not just a permissionings issue. And second, if you are the account administrator, we would love to follow up with you. It may just be truly an account question and we can quickly add that service on there for you. Guys, I think that's coming up to the top of our webinar time today. I want to thank you all so much for spending a few minutes with us, and I'd like to thank everybody on the phone. I hope everybody was able to learn something about file sharing and collaboration, remote access, e-signatures, and how kind of working all these things together can keep you more connected from the cloud. Just a quick reminder, if we did not get to your question today, we will make sure you receive an answer either from Zach or one of our many other customer success managers. We also have a few more webinars coming up in March, including a deep dive into some of the tools that we talked about at the beginning of the session, like the Outlook plugin and Sync and desktop app. We would love to see you again. We'll send you an email about how to sign up for that. With that, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Adrian and Zach, for your expertise and for your participation. Until next time, have a wonderful day.